Searing is one of the most important things you can learn on your barbecue grill. And searing is very different between gas grills, charcoal grills, or even pellet grills. Today I want to focus on gas grills, and I want to talk about all of the different options that may or may not be available to you and which one works best. Let's dive in. Okay, so why are we talking about gas grills today? Well, personally, it's because gas grills are really convenient, and I think most people tend to get a little bit too relaxed or even lazy with them. And it's primarily due to these knobs. See, you have instant control, and a lot of people just assume you got to crank those knobs on full blast and you're going to get the best searing results. That's not necessarily always the case. There's a lot of different options available to you. So let's talk about them. Okay, so let me show you guys what I mean. A lot of people ask, should you sear with the lid down or with the lid up? So searing with the lid up or down is actually personal preference. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to do it. It's really, what are you trying to get most out of your barbecue grill? What are you trying to achieve? I personally like to sear with the lid up because I want to get a char. I want to utilize that open flame, that flame contact with the food, and get that taste. And I also think it helps me control the temperatures a little bit better and just get that seared surface rather than overcooking the meat. When you choose to sear with the lid down, you're really utilizing the full potential of the grill, and now it's acting more like an oven. You're not only searing the surface, but you're also cooking the internal temperatures a little bit faster than you would with an open top and using just the flames. So you do run the risk of overcooking your steak, for example, if you're trying to shoot at a certain temperature. Depending on what I'm actually searing and what I'm going for, usually with the steak, I'll sear with the lid open, utilize the open flames. But if I'm doing maybe a roast where I know it's really, really thick, I'm going to go ahead and sear with the lid down because I know that I'm not going to cook the internal temperatures any faster. Another example I'll give you is if you're doing the reverse sear method and your steak's at the finishing touches, you already got to the internal temperatures, I tend to sear with the lid open. I don't want to run the risk of cooking the internal temperatures any faster. So having an open lid and just kissing the steak with some flames to get that sear makes a lot of sense. So it's really personal preference. There's no right or wrong way. It's really, what are you trying to achieve? So I kind of alluded to this earlier, but do you need to have the gas burners on full blast? Again, no, not always. It all depends on the efficiency of your gas grill, how much you're actually cooking. Is your gas grill really dirty or not? I mean, you don't want to cause any flare-ups, but typically those knobs are instant power, and you got to treat them just like you would in the kitchen. You want to manage temperature control. Now, yes, when you are searing, you want the highest temperature possible to sear the surface as fast as possible without really internally cooking the meat any more than you would have to, so you don't shoot past, your desired temperature. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to go full blast for everything. If I'm searing with the lid open, yeah, I tend to go a little bit higher than I usually would. But again, you are running the risk, especially with gas grills, of getting a flare-up or a grease fire. So make sure your gas grill is really clean. Now, I've done a video on gas grills in particular, and it's really a good beginner's guide to gas grills with some common mistakes. So if you are looking to learn about gas grills in general and things to look out for, check out that video. I highly recommend it. But if I'm going to be searing with the lid down, I don't necessarily need to crank everything on full blast. Watch your temperatures, right? Watch what you're actually reaching internally. If you have a thermometer, then that's great. It's really subjective. There's a lot of variables in play. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't necessarily need to crank everything full blast. If you need to dial in the temperature back a little bit, do that. If you need to go a little bit higher, do that. Be mindful. But to say that everything has to be on full blast and that's the only way to do it makes absolutely no sense. Another really cool thing to utilize, if you have it, that's a great accessory, and this grill has it, the grill made by Monument Grills, is a side sear burner or a sear zone. This thing is great. I use it all the time, especially with sous vide cooking. I just feel like it's really efficient, it's dedicated to searing, and it does a really good job. I do want to make some notes though that you should be aware of. Again, temperature control is really important. You do not need to crank up the temperature all the way. it can easily char or burn your food. So be mindful of the knob. Also, the flame or the heat source is really close to the grate. And typically when you're searing, that's kind of what you want. You want to be as close as possible to the heat source so you can sear the surface and not overcook your meat. Well, with this one, it's really close. So again, just be mindful of the knobs. You do not need to crank them all the way. Now this sear zone is actually a really cool design, and it has its own catch tray or drip tray. You want to keep gas grills clean typically, right? You don't want to let your gas grill get too dirty. Again, this one's conveniently located. It's actually right here. And you can see there's a lot of crud in here right now, but I keep it fairly clean. But you can also see that this is literally a ticking time bomb for a grease fire, so you have to keep it clean. Okay, so let's talk about searing. What are you doing when you're searing your proteins or meats? You're trying to get browning. You're trying to get that Maillard reaction or Maillard reaction, however way you want to pronounce it, but you want that flavor. Those of you that sous vide know exactly what I'm talking about. You could sous vide the perfect steak, but if you don't have that sear, you don't have that crust on top, it's not going to taste that great. You're not going to get the textures that you're looking for. So searing is a very important process, just like in the kitchen when you're using your pots and pans. It's one of the fundamentals of cooking. So what are some common mistakes you should look out for when searing? Well, the first one is there isn't this one size fits all. Searing is very variable, and depending on what you're cooking, whether it's delicate or not, the heat source that you're using, and what is your intended outcome? All those variables can change. For example, if you're searing a steak versus if you're searing chicken, or if you're searing pork or lamb, or if you're trying to cook fish or whatever, all those variables are changing. So you need to be adjusting accordingly because one protein can be a lot more delicate than the other. Also, are you using the reverse sear method? Are you using maybe an indirect method? Are you trying to smoke something? Do you really need a sear? Some tips that I have for you guys is mind your temperatures, mind your temperature control. I personally like open flame searing. I like letting the flames kind of char the meat a little bit, give you that slightly charred taste, but you should never burn your proteins. You should be looking for that brown color. If you're not getting that brown color, that rich brown color, and you're getting darkly charred meats, then you're actually burning. You're not searing at that point. But that's basically it. That's all I had for searing on a gas grill today. I hope you guys found this video informative, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.